The Browns made a bet early this season, trading away a starting quarterback, doubling down on an uncertain depth chart, and sidelining Shedeur Sanders in favor of players like Dillon Gabriel. It's the kind of decision that seems bold in theory, but foolish in hindsight. Especially now. Gabriel's underperformance, compounded by a stalled offense and growing fan frustration, has exposed how badly the Browns misread their own roster. And while Sanders waited in the wings, ready and capable, Mary Kay and others in the media helped reinforce the myth that he wasn't ready. But readiness isn't about media comfort. It's about capability. And Sanders has shown more of it than anyone in that locker room. His composure, adaptability, and precision have made a mockery of the early season doubts. The Browns are out of excuses. They gambled on reputation over talent, narrative over film. And now, with the season slipping, Sanders is the only real move left. What looked like a long shot at the start is now their best, and perhaps only, shot at recovery. Mary Kay Cabot is learning the hard way that football fans have long memories, and even better archives. For weeks, she questioned Shedeur Sanders' talent, his NFL readiness, and whether he even belonged in the Browns' quarterback conversation. Then, right on cue, as Shedeur's elite performance started leaking out of camp and preseason clips surfaced, showing next-level arm talent and precision, she switched lanes like it never happened. But it did happen. The dismissive coverage, the patronizing tone, the coded language about adjusting to the speed of the NFL, and concerns with his processing. It was all there. It wasn't analysis. It was projection. It was the same tired story that's been recycled every time a young black quarterback threatens the established media comfort zone. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just doubted. He was strategically boxed out of the conversation. Despite his standout college career, first at Jackson State, then under the intense spotlight at Colorado, he was treated like a novelty instead of the high-level talent he is. The excuses were predictable. He played at an HBCU. He transferred. His dad is Deion Sanders. There was always some reason to discount what the film clearly showed. And while the media downplayed him, the Browns were doing no better. This is a franchise that traded away a starting quarterback early in the season, handed the offense to Dillon Gabriel, who was visibly underperforming, and then watched the season spiral. Their quarterback play has been flat-out bad, their offense has no rhythm, and their decision-making has only added fuel to the disaster. All the while, Shedeur's been sitting there, poised, patient, ready. He's shown elite-level accuracy in practice. His preseason performances, while limited, were undeniably sharp. He threw with touch, velocity, anticipation. His mechanics looked clean. His footwork was controlled. His timing, NFL level. And still, Mary Kay and others acted like he was an afterthought. They didn't critique him based on tape. They critiqued him based on a narrative. But the problem with narratives is they don't hold up when the numbers start screaming. They don't hold up when your starting quarterback is missing reads and throwing grounders, while the guy you said wasn't ready is consistently threading the needle in live reps. That's why the flip-flop is so loud. Mary Kay's initial skepticism wasn't based on anything Shedeur actually did. It was based on where he came from and how easily the media assumes black quarterbacks with non-traditional paths are raw, risky, or unrefined. But once Shedeur's game became too polished to deny, she pivoted. Now it's about his composure. Now she's acknowledging the NFL-level throws he's been making. Now she's hinting that maybe, just maybe, he's the answer to Cleveland's quarterback crisis. That's not journalism. That's narrative damage control. And it's not just Mary Kay. The entire Browns organization is guilty of the same blind spot. They acted like they had the luxury of time, like they could experiment with Gabriel, like Shedeur was some long-term project instead of the most pro-ready quarterback on their depth chart.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
They traded away a starter without a reliable plan, misjudged the talent on their roster, and now they're stuck in a losing spiral, hoping Shedeur can bail them out. He can. But they don't deserve it. This wasn't a patient development strategy. This was a misread, plain and simple. The front office underestimated the guy with the cleanest mechanics and the most consistent tape. The coaching staff ignored the quarterback with the best pre-snap reads and post-snap execution. They played favorites, leaned into flawed assumptions, and now they're scrambling to course correct. And yet, Shedeur hasn't said a word. He hasn't posted cryptic messages. He hasn't fired back at the media. He hasn't made it about himself. That alone should speak volumes. In a league where perception is often louder than performance, Shedeur's let his game do all the talking. And that's exactly what makes his rise inevitable. Because once he starts, and it's not a matter of if anymore, it's when he's going to change the entire tone of this franchise. His calm command of the offense, his ability to throw guys open, his ability to hit tight windows with anticipation. All of it is going to make every snap with Gabriel look even worse in hindsight. And then, suddenly, the people who doubted him will pretend they were never on that side. Mary Kay will call his rise a story of perseverance. She'll act like she was cautious but hopeful. She'll frame it as some kind of shared win. But fans know the truth. They heard the original takes. They read the tweets. They remember when the criticism was sharper than the film deserved. This isn't just a redemption arc. It's an exposure. It's a moment where media bias got caught red-handed and had no choice but to retreat. Because Shedeur didn't just prove he could play. He proved that the people analyzing him weren't doing their jobs. They weren't watching the tape. They were following a script. And when the Real story broke through, they scrambled to rewrite it. But you can't rewrite what everyone already saw. The Browns are losing because they ignored their best option at quarterback. The media is panicking because they missed the story unfolding right in front of them. And Shedeur Sanders? He's about to turn all of that into fuel. Once he steps into that starting role, every drive will be a reminder of what they ignored. Every completed pass will be a direct challenge to the narrative that kept him sidelined. Every touchdown? A headline they didn't want to write, but now have no choice. He's not just ready. He's overdue. And that's the scariest part for the doubters, at least. Because now they're out of time. They don't get to ease into this transition. They don't get to claim credit. They're going to have to watch the quarterback they dismissed carry the team they mismanaged. Shedeur's success isn't just about wins. It's about accountability. It's about forcing a broken media cycle to confront its own blind spots. And it's about showing future quarterbacks, especially black quarterbacks, that they don't need to fit the mold to break through it. Because talent speaks for itself. Eventually, it's too loud to ignore. So if you've been watching this mess unfold from day one, if you've been yelling at your screen while the Browns wasted game after game with a wrong quarterback, hit that like button. If you've got thoughts on Mary Kay's public backpedal, drop them in the comments. We want to hear them. And if you're here for the full story, for the drama, the mismanagement, and the inevitable rise of a quarterback who never should have had to wait, make sure you're subscribed. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just about to prove them wrong. He already has. Here's the thing about proving people wrong. It's never just about one throw, one game, or one headline. It's about the build-up, the disrespect, the silence you maintained when you could have clapped back. It's about every moment you sat behind someone less qualified while knowing you were the better option. That's the position Shedeur Sanders has been in all season. Not because he wasn't ready, but because people like Mary Kay Cabot weren't ready to admit they were wrong. Shedeur's had to wear a narrative that was never his. That he's only good because of his dad narrative. That he didn't face elite competition narrative. That he's flashy, but can he read a defense narrative. It didn't matter how much tape he had. It didn't matter how accurate his passes were or how poised he looked under pressure. The media had already decided his story, and no amount of precision throws in a muddy pocket could convince them otherwise. Until it did. Because talent doesn't stay hidden forever. You can bench it. You can downplay it. You can write around it. But when it starts showing up in real time in practices, in preseason action, in sideline reports, it becomes impossible to ignore. And that's exactly what happened. The Browns were losing. The offense was flat. Gabriel was under-delivering. And Shedeur? He was quietly stacking wins in the background. The kind that don't show up on the scoreboard. Yet. But the coaching staff noticed. Teammates noticed. Reporters, especially the ones who originally wrote him off, really noticed. That's when Mary Kay flipped. Suddenly, she was praising his touch passes. Suddenly, she was interested in his background. Suddenly, the same guy she dismissed as not NFL ready was being talked about as a potential spark for the Browns' struggling offense. That pivot wasn't subtle. It was survival. Because she wasn't just wrong, she was exposed. Exposed for falling back on tired talking points. For misjudging a quarterback based on where he played and who his dad is, rather than what he put on film. For using the same language the media always uses when it's trying to slow down the rise of a young black quarterback. Tools, needs time, raw talent. They said the same thing about Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and now Shedeur Sanders. But here's what's different. The turnaround is happening faster. The tape is louder. The bad decisions from the Browns' front office are more obvious. And the fans? They're not buying it anymore. Fans don't forget who led the skepticism. They remember the interviews, the tweets, the articles. They remember who gave Shedeur credit when it was inconvenient, and who waited until he was too good to ignore. What makes it worse is the timing. The Browns needed Shedeur weeks ago. They needed a quarterback who could extend plays without losing structure. Someone who could read defenses post-snap. Someone who doesn't panic in the red zone. Instead, they rolled out Gabriel, whose highlight reel this season is basically a blooper reel. Every game the Browns have lost with Gabriel at the helm has been a missed opportunity, not just to win, but to get ahead of the curve with Shedeur. Instead, they're stuck chasing a season that could have looked completely different if they'd made the right call from the jump. And now the Browns are just hoping Shedeur can clean up the mess. That's the ask. Come in. Save the season. Resurrect the offense. Take over a locker room that's already lost confidence in the game plan. And do it all with the poise of a seasoned vet, while knowing you were option B all along. But if there's one person who's built for that exact moment, it's Shedeur Sanders. This isn't a kid hoping to survive his first start. This is a quarterback with more composure than the guy who's been starting. Someone who has experience dealing with high-pressure games, chaotic offensive lines, national media storms, and yes, being doubted. His entire college career was about proving people wrong without ever saying it out loud. And here he is again, on the verge of doing it at the NFL level. It won't be flashy. It'll be surgical, consistent, calm. And the people who've been paying attention will feel validated. Because this was never about potential. It was about recognition. And Shedeur's been ready. It's the rest of the league that took too long to catch up. The Browns aren't just hoping for a comeback. They're depending on the one guy they didn't believe in soon enough. And while Mary Kay and other reporters scramble to reposition themselves as early believers, Shedeur doesn't need their support. He never did. He didn't need puff pieces. He didn't need glowing preseason profiles. He didn't even need them to admit they were wrong. All he needed was a chance. Just one. And now that it's here, they're all about to see what the hype was really about. He's going to come in and stabilize the offense. He's going to throw receivers open. He's going to deliver passes that are actually catchable. And the difference between him and Gabriel will be night and day, because it always was. The Browns will try to spin it. They'll say they were protecting him, that they wanted him to develop at his own pace, that it was always part of the long-term plan. But everyone knows the truth. This was a correction, an overdue course change forced by bad decision-making, media pressure, and the simple fact that Shedeur Sanders is better than the guy they picked to start. Mary Kay will write her story. She'll reference how he silenced the doubters. Maybe she'll even try to quote herself from 3 weeks ago, as if she was ahead of the curve. But the fans won't forget. They'll remember who tried to gatekeep Shedeur out of the spotlight and who simply told the truth about what they saw. And that's the beautiful part of all this. The game tells the story, not the takes, not the headlines, not the press conferences, just the game. So when Shedeur hits the field and starts doing what he's done at every level, read the defense, drop the ball into tight windows, lead without shouting, It'll speak louder than anything Mary Kay or the Browns front office can say. That's what happens when reality breaks through bias. If there's one thing the NFL hates, it's when a player writes his own story. Because this league and the media apparatus that props it up loves a specific kind of rise. The tidy one. The predictable one. The one where the franchise quarterback comes from the right school, with the right accolades, and ascends at just the right pace. But Shedeur Sanders has never played that role. He's not here for their script. He's writing his own. And now that the Cleveland Browns are forced to hand him the pen, the entire tone of the season is about to shift. Because once Shedeur's under center, it's not just the playbook that changes, it's the narrative. This is a guy who's been questioned every step of the way, not because of what he lacks, but because of where he comes from. Let's call it for what it is. The media doesn't like outliers. And a young black quarterback from an HBCU, coached by his father, who didn't follow the traditional Power 5 path. That's an outlier they weren't prepared to take seriously. Mary Kay Cabot's early reports weren't isolated. She was speaking from the same well of coded skepticism that's been dumped on quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and even Patrick Mahomes before he lit the league on fire. And now that Shedeur has checked every box, accuracy, leadership, discipline, maturity, the goalposts are moving again. First, he wasn't tested. Then, he lacked experience. Now he's suddenly ready, as if that wasn't obvious months ago. This kind of pivot isn't analysis, it's survival instinct. Because once Shedeur becomes the starter, once he turns the Browns' dumpster fire of a season into something watchable, Mary Kay and everyone like her won't want to be remembered as the people who doubted him. They'll want to be seen as the ones who always saw the potential. They'll say they were merely cautious, protecting a young player, waiting for the right moment. That's not what happened. What happened is that Shedeur Sanders was ready, and they weren't. And the Browns? They're just as guilty. The decision to start Dillon Gabriel wasn't just a mistake. It was a declaration. It said, we trust this guy more even if he's worse. It said, we're afraid to make the right call, because we didn't endorse it from the beginning. And it's cost them. The offense is a mess. The locker room is frustrated. The fans are vocal. And the quarterback they buried on the depth chart is about to become the one guy who can turn it all around. Because that's the thing about Shedeur. He's not just a quarterback. He's a fixer. His mechanics are clean. His footwork is tight. His ball placement is elite. He's calm in chaos, smart with the football, and already showing signs of the kind of leadership that makes grown men believe. Not because he yells, not because he demands respect, but because he earns it. And when he steps into that huddle, don't be surprised when the offense suddenly looks alive again. Don't be surprised when receivers stop having to contort their bodies just to make routine catches. Don't be surprised when the Browns start winning the games they've been throwing away for weeks. Because when you put the right quarterback in, everything else falls into place. And the media's going to act shocked. They'll throw around words like breakout, emerging star, and poise beyond his years. But none of this is new. It's just new to them, because they didn't do their homework the first time around. That's the part no one's going to say out loud. That Shedeur's surprise emergence isn't a surprise at all. It's a reflection of how poorly the league and the media handle evaluations when they don't like the packaging. This isn't about doubting Shedeur Sanders. It's about doubting what he represents, a young black quarterback who doesn't play the game the way they expect, on or off the field. He's quiet, composed, doesn't chase the spotlight. He plays a calculated game, precise, intentional, and that terrifies people who are more comfortable with chaos than control. It's easier to label a player like that as not ready than to admit you misread everything. And now, as the season slips further out of the Browns' hands, Shedeur's role has gone from optional to urgent. He's no longer just a young prospect. They need him. Not just to compete, but to save face. And he'll do it. That's the part they're not ready for. He'll walk onto the field with zero drama. No ego. No I told you so attitude. He'll just take the offense, elevate it, and do what he's always done, make it work. And in doing so, he'll leave Mary Kay and the rest of the doubters scrambling for rewrites. They'll reframe their original skepticism as healthy caution. They'll say they wanted to see more reps. They'll spin their doubt into a story of vindication. But it won't work. Because we remember what was said. We remember how quickly they turned. And Shedeur? He'll keep playing. Calm. Measured. Unbothered. Because he knows the truth. He didn't just beat out a quarterback. He beat a narrative designed to keep him in the background. So when you see the media flip again and start treating him like the next great thing, don't let them erase what came before. They didn't believe. They waited until it was safe. They waited until he'd done everything short of walking on water before they gave him credit. And now, they're going to profit from the story they tried to bury. But Shedeur's success won't be their victory lap. It won't be Mary Kay's redemption. It'll be a masterclass in patience, professionalism, and perseverance. So if you've been watching this all unfold, if you've been shouting at your TV while Dylan Gabriel threw checkdowns on 3RD and 12, if you've been waiting for the Browns to stop acting like quarterback evaluation is a lottery ticket, this is your moment too. Because this isn't just about one player. It's about what he represents. Fairness, accountability, and the refusal to let bias define a career. So hit that like button if you're tired of the media pretending to be surprised when they get proven wrong. Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you clocked the double standard from day one. And if you're here for the full season of this chaos, from mismanagement to media meltdown to quarterback redemption, go ahead and subscribe. Because the Shedeur Sanders chapter is just beginning. And this time, he's holding the pen.